Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the case of Sandra Cantu.
Oh, yeah.
She was 8 years old,
Wow.
and she disappeared from her community in Tracy, California.
Okay.
This was back in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be using some excerpts from a true crime podcast that goes into the investigation.
Right.
It's got interviews with the lead investigator, experts, all that.
Oh, wow.
So this one, it's a tough one. Full of twists and turns you won't believe.
Yeah. You know what really gets me about this case is just how important all the little details are.
Right.
They seem so small, almost accidental.
Yeah.
But then when you put them all together, they paint a really tragic picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Sandra, she lived with her mom, her grandparents, and siblings
Okay.
in a mobile home community in Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy was known as a pretty tight-knit town, you know?
Yeah, like that classic small town America,
Exactly.
kids playing outside, everyone knows their neighbors.
Yeah, and that's what makes Sandra's disappearance so scary. So it was a Friday afternoon. She got home from school, changed into her pink Hello Kitty shirt
Oh,
and a striped dress.
okay.
Went out to play like a normal day, you know?
Yeah.
But then hours went by, and nobody saw her.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't until around 7 p.m. that her family realized she was missing.
That's a long time.
It is, that 4-hour gap, you
Yeah.
know, in a community where everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
Immediately, the police knew something was wrong.
Yeah, they had to think, is this a lost child or something worse?
Yeah, they were walking a tightrope for sure.
Exactly.
They launched a huge search, bloodhounds, helicopters, the whole thing.
Wow.
But the first night, nothing.
Um.
You could just imagine the pressure on those investigators.
Oh, yeah, every minute counts.
And as the initial leads went cold, they started looking at Sandra's life,
Okay.
looking for any problems, any cracks in that safe community image.
Right, like were there any custody disputes? Anyone acting strange?
Exactly.
Mm.
And Sandra's grandmother had mentioned a karate instructor, someone she'd seen at the community pool and felt was a bit off around Sandra.
So that's where those small details start to matter.
Yeah, the instructor became a person of interest,
Okay.
but in the end, he cooperated, took a polygraph, and was ruled out.
Wow, so they had to be ready to eliminate possibilities just as fast as they considered them.
That's right. Then 2 days into the search, there's what seems like a big break.
Okay.
A woman's walking near a vigil for Sandra, and she finds a note.
A note.
A note. This note was strange, cryptic, but it mentioned Sandra's last name,
Mm.
a stolen suitcase, and a body of water.
Oh, wow.
And it even named 2 streets,
Okay.
which led the police to a pond a few miles outside of Tracy.
So the note's like straight out of a movie?
Yeah, and even with all the false leads they had to take this seriously.
Right.
So they immediately started searching that pond.
Okay.
But it wasn't easy. They had problems with the water quality that really slowed them down.
Oh, wow.
But that note pointed them towards someone who, on the surface, seemed totally unconnected. A woman named Melissa Huckabe.
Okay.
Melissa was a Sunday school teacher, a single mom, lived with her grandparents who were ministers.
Right.
So she seemed totally innocent. Not your typical suspect.
Yeah, not at all.
But there was something about her from the start that didn't sit right with investigators.
What do you mean?
Well, this seemingly innocent woman also reported her own suitcase stolen the very same day she found that note.
Hmm.
And it was a black suitcase.
Wait, a stolen suitcase and the note mentions a suitcase.
That's quite a coincidence,
Yeah.
right? And just as they're wondering if the note's a hoax, something happens that changes everything.
What happened?
This is where things get really dark. A farmer working near that pond mentioned in the note.
Okay.
He was draining it as part of his routine, and you won't believe what he found.
What?
Floating in the water, a black suitcase.
Oh my God.
The police were incredibly careful retrieving it,
Yeah.
treating it like a crime scene the whole time. They took it to the medical examiner's office.
Wow, I can't even imagine what that moment must have been like opening that suitcase.
I know. And inside, they found 8-year-old Sandra Cantu.
Oh my God.
It was clear she had been dead for days.
How awful.
The autopsy showed that she had been suffocated, sexually assaulted, and drugged.
That's just heartbreaking.
It is. Now, with Sandra's body found, the focus really shifts to Melissa Huckabe.
Right, because she's the one who found that note.
Exactly. And reported a similar suitcase stolen.
Oh, yeah. And now this suitcase with Sandra's body is found.
Right when the note's contents are all over the news.
Makes you think maybe she wanted to be part of the investigation.
Yeah, like she wanted to be in the spotlight.
And then all of a sudden her actions start to unravel.
Yeah, a witness places a woman who looks just like Melissa at the pond.
Okay.
And just as the police are getting ready to question her, She checks herself into a hospital,
What?
saying she swallowed razor blades.
Oh, Mike, are you serious?
It's like straight out of a movie, right?
Yeah, so was it guilt? Was she trying to get out of being questioned?
Or something else completely.
What would you do if you were the lead detective?
Yeah,
This key witness is now claiming self-harm.
right.
Do you believe her?
It's a tough call.
Is she really in distress?
Right.
Is she trying to manipulate the situation?
Yeah.
Or is she desperate to cover her tracks?
It's high stakes.
Yeah.
Every decision matters.
Absolutely.
The police knew they couldn't just barge into the hospital and interrogate her.
Right.
But they couldn't let her out of their sight either.
So what did they do?
They had to understand why she was doing this,
Right.
what her story was,
Mm.
and they needed evidence to connect everything together.
Okay, but remember, this is 2009.
Yeah.
Before smartphones and all that.
No tracking locations, no social media to look through,
It was good old-fashioned detective work.
and they were good at it.
They were.
They were meticulous, and that's what got them results.
Okay, so what did they find?
They matched the handwriting on that note
Okay.
to a notebook they found in Melissa's stuff.
So that handwriting analysis seems like a small thing.
Yeah. But it actually proves she wrote the note.
Exactly. It wasn't random. It was a clue she made on purpose.
Wow. And that points to premeditation.
Right. And they found more than just the notebook.
Oh,
They
right.
found a sticky note with those street names from the note.
The ones leading to the pond.
Yeah, crossed out in Melissa's handwriting.
Okay.
And then a crucial piece of evidence. Traces of benzodiazepine in Sandra's system.
And didn't Melissa take benzodiazepine?
She did. Seems like they've got her.
But a lot of people were prescribed benzodiazepine back then.
That's true.
They had to prove that the drug in Sandra came from Melissa.
Not just randomly from the environment.
It had to be a direct link.
So now they had the notebook, the sticky note, the witness, and the drug link.
Wow, that's a lot of evidence.
But they still needed a confession.
Of course.
They needed to understand how this seemingly normal woman could do such a horrific thing.
So what did they do?
They decided to visit her at the hospital
Okay.
and get the lead investigator, Lieutenant Tim Bauer.
He decided to play on Melissa's need for attention.
What do you mean?
He pretended to be there to help her find her stolen suitcase.
Oh, wow.
Like he was playing a long game, hoping to catch her off guard.
So she would think she's in control.
That's right. Classic interrogation technique.
Make the suspect feel comfortable and see what they say.
Did it work?
I guess we're about to find out.
Well, Melissa, she took the bait.
What did she say?
She described the suitcase in detail, even the brand, Eddie Bauer.
Okay.
Said she bought it at Target after moving to Tracy from L.A.
So she confirmed she owned a black suitcase.
Exactly. And she even offered an alibi, said it was stolen while she was getting ready for Sunday school.
Unintentionally linking herself to the suitcase with Sandra's body.
Yeah, without realizing it, she's building the case against herself.
It's almost like she can't help but be part of the story.
Yeah, or is it something else?
Right. Is she really so out of touch with reality that she doesn't understand what she's doing?
It makes you wonder.
It-
The next day, the police bring Melissa in for a real interrogation.
Okay.
This one lasts 6 hours,
Oh, wow.
and you can feel the tension building.
Yeah.
They lay out all the evidence, the note, the handwriting, the benzodiazepine, the witness at the pond.
They're not holding back.
Nope. It's all there staring her in the face,
6 hours is a long time to keep up a lie.
especially when they have so much evidence.
Yeah.
And Melissa, she starts to crack.
What happened?
At first, she denies everything.
Of course.
But as they keep showing her more evidence, she changes her story.
Okay.
She says Sandra was playing hide and seek,
Hide and seek.
clung into Melissa's suitcase, and accidentally suffocated.
Trying to make it sound like an accident.
Classic defense mechanism.
Right? Distance herself from what happened.
But her story had a ton of holes.
Like what?
She couldn't explain the sexual assault or the drugs
Mm-hmm.
or how the suitcase ended up in the pond
Right.
or why she tied it shut so carefully with that nylon cord.
Yeah.
She even tried to blame it on voices in her head,
Mm-hmm. Voices.
saying she had blackouts.
Wow. So she's trying everything to avoid responsibility.
It's like she's grasping at straws.
Trying to control the story when she's losing control of the situation.
But the police weren't buying it.
They've heard it all before.
And finally, with all the evidence and the questioning, Melissa breaks.
She confesses.
She does. But even then, she tries to downplay what she did.
Saying it wasn't on purpose.
Yeah,
Even in her confession, there's no real remorse.
it's chilling.
Yeah, she seems more worried about herself than what she did to Sandra.
It makes you wonder what could drive someone to do something so horrible.
Right. Was it jealousy? Did she want attention? Or was it something much darker?
It's a scary thought that even in safe communities,
Bad things can happen.
and that people we think we know,
Could be capable of terrible things.
but it also shows how important a good investigation is,
Yeah, they didn't let the pressure get to them.
or the dead ends.
They followed the evidence, trusted their gut, and they got Sandra's killer.
Cases like this,
Hmm.
they really get to you.
Yeah.
The senselessness of it all,
Just awful.
and how one person's actions can affect so many others.
It makes you wonder how someone like that,
Someone you might see every day,
someone who seems so ordinary,
could be capable of something so dark.
What I find so interesting is how, even with all the chaos and heartbreak, it was the small details that broke the case.
Right.
Like Lieutenant Bauer always says,
Yeah.
the stolen suitcase, report that witness at the pond.
They don't seem like much on their own,
No, at all.
but put them together and they show you exactly what happened.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It makes you think about what we might miss in our own lives.
Yeah.
Things we might dismiss as coincidences
Right.
when they're actually part of a bigger picture.
This case also shows how important a methodical investigation is.
Yeah, they had so much pressure from the media.
And the community.
Sandra's family just wanting answers.
But they didn't rush to judgment.
They were so careful gathering evidence.
Talking to witnesses, double-checking everything.
And they built a really strong case against Melissa Huckabe,
And in the end, they were able to give Sandra's family some peace.
which I imagined is a really good feeling for a detective.
Yeah, knowing your work put a killer behind bars and helped a family heal.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest times, justice is possible.
But this deep dive, it leaves us with some unanswered questions, doesn't it?
It does. Like, what really made Melissa do this?
Was it jealousy?
Did she want attention?
Or was there something else going on?
Something even more disturbing.
And how did all these seemingly random things come together?
Like the farmer deciding to drain the pond that exact day.
It's almost like fate played a part.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
With Melissa Huckabe serving a life sentence, we're left to wonder.
What could have led her down such a dark path?
And what does this case tell us about human nature?
About the darkness that can hide within anyone.
It's unsettling.
The family's decision to not push for the death penalty.
Yeah, that adds another layer to this whole story.
Their faith was really important to them.
They believed that a life sentence was a different kind of justice.
One focused on reflection and trying to make amends.
It's a powerful statement about their strength.
And their beliefs, even after something so horrible.
It makes you think about your own beliefs.
About justice and punishment and forgiveness.
It's not easy to find answers.
No, it's not.
There's just sadness and this unease knowing that even innocent lives.
Can be touched by darkness.
This deep dive has taken us through so many twists and turns.
We've seen how small details can become crucial evidence.
How dedicated law enforcement can be.
And how strong a family can be when facing unimaginable loss.
It's a reminder that even with senseless tragedy,
there's always hope for justice.
And a need to understand.
We hope this deep dive has shed some light on this complicated case.
And that it's made you think critically about the information you come across.
Stay tuned for more deep dives into fascinating topics right here on The Deep Dive.
We'll see you next time.